This offensive line overhaul is finally showing real results. Keep pounding. We have two major roster updates today. A recent fifth-round rookie center played 40 snaps and is aggressively stealing the starting job. Right alongside that, trade rumors are swirling around a tight end with only 2 career touchdowns. I will name both momentarily. Like, comment your city, stay until the end, and subscribe for 2000 to catch every update. Sam Hecht is currently carving out a legitimate path toward the starting center job after outworking veteran Luke Fortner throughout this preseason. When our front office drafted this Kansas State product in the 5th round back in April, I viewed him as a project piece. But those early expectations have shifted rapidly. He earned the start in our Hall of Fame game against the Arizona Cardinals, logging 38 offensive snaps alongside 2 special teams reps. Even after Fortner took the starting role for the subsequent matchups with the Bills and Jaguars, Hecht consistently saw more action on the field, including 40 offensive snaps during the Jacksonville contest, and here's why that's a big deal. According to analyst Ben Fennell, after reviewing the rookie's film, he noted that Hecht could potentially be the best first-year player at his position in this entire class. I am genuinely excited about his development, but I also want to pump the brakes a little because making the leap from college to the trenches in the NFL is a massive transition for any young interior lineman. Is he truly ready to anchor our line and snap the ball to Bryce Young on a weekly basis? Or are we simply witnessing a solid preseason rotation? While Lance Zierlein pointed out before the draft that Hecht needs to pack more muscle onto his frame, the technical consistency he displays on film is exactly what our roster has lacked over the past 2 years. We have cycled through 3 different starters at center in that time, which makes this development feel even more critical for our offensive stability. Does this suggest that the team is ready to fully trust the rookie, or will they lean on the veteran experience of Fortner to open the regular season? Having a 5th-round pick take significant snaps from a veteran free agent signing is not how most teams expect training camp to unfold. When our front office moved to bolster the middle of the offensive line this past April, they clearly prioritized insurance. Yet the internal competition has evolved into something far more compelling than a standard depth chart exercise. Why would the staff keep rotating a rookie ahead of a 4-year pro if they were not seeing something special on the practice field? And the more I look at this, the reality of the situation becomes clear. We are watching an aggressive push for a starting role that most scouts assumed would be safely held by experience. After Ben Fennell highlighted that Hecht could develop into the best first-year player at his position, I find myself reconsidering the long-term outlook for our unit. It is one thing to show flashes in drills, but logging 40 offensive snaps against Jacksonville proves the coaching staff trusts his grasp of the playbook and his assignment discipline in the heat of a game. I am curious if this early trust suggests the front office saw an immediate deficiency they had to address, or if they truly believe the Kansas State product is just that advanced. Could this change the ceiling for our entire offense? My read is that they are actively searching for someone who brings consistent technique to the pocket, especially given the history of inconsistency we have seen in the Queen City recently. While caution is wise with any newcomer in the trenches, it is hard to ignore the momentum building behind this kid. If he continues to handle the physical workload, the transition from project to starter might happen much faster than anyone anticipated. Now, let's pivot to the update that has everyone in the Queen City talking regarding our roster depth. The Carolina Panthers are currently engaged in trade discussions involving tight end Jatavian Sanders, with the Green Bay Packers actively expressing interest. This report, surfacing late Tuesday night from Easton Butler of PackerReport.com, hit our fan base like a bolt from the blue. Sanders, our 4th-round pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, has struggled to gain traction over 2 seasons, managing just 532 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Seeing his name on the block feels heavy, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Is this just standard front office due diligence, or are we signaling a total shakeup in the tight end room? Coach Dave Canales didn't exactly shut down the rumors when pressed at Wednesday's press conference following our joint session with the Texans, simply stating, "I don't have any information on that." And I'll be straight with you, his non-denial speaks volumes. The situation has clearly intensified since we brought in Darren Waller, leaving Sanders buried as the number 3 option behind Tommy Tremble and Mitchell Evans on the unofficial depth chart. It is frustrating to see a young talent potentially depart before realizing his upside, but I'm excited to see if our staff can flip this roster bubble piece for actual value. Does trading a project player like Sanders really provide the immediate impact we need for this offense, or are we thinning out our depth at the wrong time? I lean toward trusting the front office if they believe this creates room for better contributors, but the risk is obvious. We are watching a clear move to retool, and while it stings to lose a young asset, winning in this league requires those tough roster decisions. Trading away young assets before they hit their ceiling is a high-stakes gamble for any front office. Does Ja'Tavion Sanders really have enough trade value to move the needle for our roster in the long run? On one hand, offloading a former fourth-round selection allows us to clear space for more experienced contributors, especially with Darren Waller now in the fold. Mitchell Evans is also showing promise as a developing target, which could make Sanders expendable if the Packers offer draft compensation that helps our long-term plan. Now here's the thing, I am excited about the potential return, but I also want to pump the brakes a little because losing a player who is still learning the nuances of the position often comes back to haunt teams later. If Sanders finds his stride elsewhere, we will look back at this as a missed opportunity to develop our own talent from within. The fact that the coaching staff has been so quiet regarding these rumors suggests the situation is very fluid, and I personally find it difficult to move on from a 23-year-old athlete who has barely had time to prove his worth on the field. Could this simply be a way to test his market value before the final roster cuts? My honest take here is that if the offer is not substantial, we should keep him as depth behind Tommy Tremble instead of giving up on his potential too early. Are we prioritizing short-term fixes over the actual development of our young draft picks? This feels like a classic case of the front office trying to reshape the identity of our offense under immense pressure to win right now, but I hope they are being patient enough to see if he can finally break out this year. When you put both of today's stories together, here is the picture that emerges for the Carolina Panthers. Our front office is aggressively clearing the dead weight of past seasons to prioritize high-upside youth. Linking Sam Hecht seizing the center job with the potential exit of Ja'Tavion Sanders shows we are finally committed to a hard reset. What makes this even bigger is the signal it sends to every player on our roster bubble. If you are not performing, you are replaceable. I see a team that is done waiting for veterans to find their stride when younger guys bring more hunger to the trenches and special teams value. This shift feels like a deliberate effort to build a culture where only those who execute our standards survive. I want to hear your take on these major moves down in the comments. Do you trust Sam Hecht to start at center for the full season given his rookie status, or would you prefer a more veteran anchor for Bryce Young? And looking at the tight end situation, would you trade Ja'Tavion Sanders now if the package from a team like the Green Bay Packers is right? I am genuinely curious because we need to hit on these decisions to turn our record around. If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. I am still pushing toward our first 2,000 subscribers, and every one of you helps me get there. Keep pounding. I will see you in the next one. I will be back later to update you with the latest Carolina Panthers news. Whether it is breaking trade rumors, injury updates, or post-game analysis, I have you covered right here on the channel. Make sure your notifications are turned on so you never miss a single update.